Like Ben's remote. Seven o'clock, so we'll get started. Call for the Cumberland Planning Commission regular meeting for Wednesday, March 25th. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Loud? Ms. Gee? Present. Mr. Carroll?
Present.
Mr. Brindle?
Present.
Ms. Lathrop? Here. Ms. Carey?
Be presenting. We may ask some. Any opposed? And, that, we may, Commissioner, I'm sorry.
The opportunity came about to develop a project here. It jumped. When the initial PUD was submitted, it was kind of all into the April's document because the final really. What we present today is not a request to amend the PUD such as allow. As you know, pointed out, this is only the preliminary steps of this process. We were requesting a PUD amendment. The documents you've seen submitted today are not the final. We will have to come back and develop a plan improvement. But again, this just kind of locks in a little bit. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Bench here in a second for some comments, but just want to express our appreciation for your time.
Thanks. Good evening. Thanks for your time. Frank Ben, as you mentioned, CEO of Tidmark at 201 North Illinois Street, in downtown Indianapolis. We do a lot of neighborhood development, retail development. You know, we're probably one of the most active neighborhood retail development in Central Valley. And we tend to anchor those with neighborhood stores as well. And we've done these in communities from Greenwood to Whitehall, Indianapolis, Avon, and we're continuing to grow in and around Central Indiana. And with that, we always construct other types of uses. We think there are uses that fit well within neighborhoods, services uses, haircuts, restaurants, those types of places. And we love it, and we studied the rooftops around it, and it's going 5 to 10 years. We think this is a great spot. People like you have done a great job knowing the city responsibly, while at the same time giving flexibility to developers like us to do what we do, which is we understand what users want, what we need, and we try to implement this, whether it's through building design. We think that's important, especially to adjacent neighborhoods and business, as well as understanding the design needs of the user. So it's always a push-pull, some type of agreement that comes into play. But from what I understand, agreements are implemented in city business, and we're excited to be a part of that. So thank you.
Okay. Like detail on what you're proposing. And we have what you submitted. I didn't know if you wanted to give us any more detail. If not, I know I have related to that.
Yeah, sure, yeah. So I let the engineers kind of get into the weeds of all the nuance of like what has to be in the plan approval. But I can tell you at a 20,000 foot view, we're envisioning 6 outlets. Those outlets can range from, like I said, services to retail centers, like small shops, to restaurants, and And then in the back, this is very critical because this is sort of like the transition to the neighborhoods. And in the back, that's where we would have the hardware store. But this is, whereas it flows well with the neighborhoods, those types of things. As a building that runs perpendicular to 700, and that again would have a bit. And then on the far east side of the development in the back, we're envisioning not a heavy retail use, but more like a general office type of use there. And then the front would be would align well with more retail to what you. We've done this in many different communities. For instance, we put actually a bigger hardware store right in the middle of the village of West Clay, and in Main Street in Carl, and they loved it. It fits in great. It has a lot of the uses that we're requesting here, which are outdoor display, outdoor storage for seasonal goods, those types of things, as well as we've done in Westfield, 2 times in Westfield in other communities. So we put out a good product, but we do follow standards. You know, we're not a messy or ours are aligned to abide by any standards that you.
I think that's all accurate. The only other thing I would add as well is one of the things that, so we've got a process development this site, is that there's going to be water space behind the, as we work with.
Really long. So for the staff report, again, this isn't a PUD and to the connection heights PUD that have been adopted. 2022. There is the amendment this evening. The commercial parcel is 22.79 acres. This is the only area of amendment. All the residential standards that we're still in place are not being touched at all. What we're looking at this evening. Current zoning for this is PUD. To the north, again, is single family residential zone PUD. To the east, we have East Report Apartments, which are R6 in PUD. To the west, you have single family, also some PUD, and then to the south, you have some vacant land with the church that has commercial. Your plan calls for mixed use in this area. So we get into free and request before you tonight. Connection Heights, which includes the Park Village neighborhood and the proposed Woodland Station, was originally approved January 2022. Park Village currently under construction includes 3 different family home products currently being constructed by DR. The amendment again is focused on the financial portion or Cumberland Station. The originally for Cumberland Station included mixed development, meaning mixed use. So at that time had been, commercial and residential above, but they really weren't seeing what was there. So if you'll remember, we put in that they would at a minimum meet the National Road Overlay Standard in case that use changed down the road. And so here we are now, and we have a petition to modify the PUD for the 22 acre straight commercial development. And generally the development is complying with. And then the lot 1 would be the first phase. And so just a reminder that tonight the commission, you guys are considering the minimum zoning standards in the text. We're not in the site plan or architecture, any of those things. Those are conceptual at this stage. We're trying to determine, are the standards proposed and the text out of it for what's being proposed. And to try to identify or what's changed as we go through this report. So again, with the uses. In this case, the intent here is that all uses except for farm sales services, lumber yards, manufactured home sales, pawn shops, recreational vehicles, and vape shops. Would be permitted. And we'll make sure that we have state in here, under 3E on page 18 states that the B3 uses would be, permitted excluding those specific items that were in there. The B3 district is our highest intensity commercial district, and it's commercial, so uses like filling stations, auto repair, car washes, restaurants, close to town and drive through, retail office, commercial utility, things like comprehensive plan, use US 40 really is a commercial board. It's an arterial through the town, so 3 uses would not be a reasonable use at this location. The plan commission may want to address the outdoor storage, prohibiting outdoor storage from being placed in parking spaces, and we would also recommend that it be placed in locations that be from this. The main goal is for outlot style commercial development, includes trails along the S40, flats. The building fronts are oriented to US 307. The plan is conceptual and not reviewed for compliance with the proposed minimum. The plan 30-foot landscape buffer on the perimeter of the development and the spaces from here. And that would like to see trail around that one. And the area active in a little more park-like manner, with a connection to the park trail along Custer Way in the park of the crosswalks should be added along County Road 700 West, so that Grants Corner and Glen Oaks residents can walk to the commercial area. The original PUD for Connection Heights as walkability, to make sure that that's continued with this development. For the development standards, again, it's really clearly said the town's ordinances. Lot 1 does have 2 primary structures on the parcel. Our ordinances only allow primary structure on the lot, so we are suggesting that a statement be added to the PUD that structures on the same lot if each building complies with all applicable zoning standards. So just to clarify that, and so that we don't. And then that would also potentially address outlot things as well. And then summary of some of the development standards for parking. It does eliminate the PUD for vehicle and bicycle parking in the original PUD, but it does still refer back to the underlying. So we're not eliminating, we're going to referring it back to the town. Lot 1 is the only lot that has more than 2 rows of parking shown in the road and the building. This is on the 700 side, and so the amended PUD would allow that for the building too. So just want to point that out. The architecture, it does eliminate some of the Cumberland Station PUD standards. It does still comply with the National Road Code architecture. Since this is going to be more of a horizontal mixed use now instead of vertical mixed use, some of those standards needed to be changed to address these styles. That's why you see a lot of sections just stricken out of there, because those really had to do with that vertical mixed use. It's not the style type. So we're not abandoning it, just will refer back in a lot of places to our underlying zoning and national river standards. Yes. Building to wait. Building to your national road overlay standards. Building are oriented to County Road 700 West or US 40, so you'll have fronts and side facades facing roadways, not backs buildings. Above Highland Drive, will provide an additional screen of the buildings between us. The lot width elevations provide a style that's complementary to the Rose neighborhood, as the petitioners talked about. The plan commission may want to consider allowing a higher fence around the perimeter. So right now your maximum height is 6 feet. Just knowing that sometimes those areas can have material stacked a little higher. So I consider in your if you were to make a favorable recommendation condition, they'll allow a statement to be added to allowing up to 8 feet for fencing. Additionally, that fencing is open, just recommend a combination of solid wall with fence. And I provided an image just as an example. This isn't necessarily exactly what I would expect to be built, but I'm going to give you an idea. We also did an example of similar to what's proposed for building 2 that's been constructed in the Indy metro area off of Suffolk Road. And then signs were proposed on your southwest of the entrance, and then 2 pylon signs on US. Both signs would have a maximum of 6 feet in height, as well as a 60 square feet. This is less than what was proposed in the previous PUD. I provided example images. So for the pylon sign, I just make sure it's all in base, and I think that keeps with the intent of what had been intended with better. There's for if more than 2 rows of parking are along US 700 West to provide screening. It also adds that undulating berm along Highfield Drive where the residential start. So I see the variation. So the setting just force off. As for roads, routine will be private. INDOT has jurisdiction over INDOT highway. So that will for the state of Indiana. The track study was completed, and it does indicate dedicated right turn lane would be required at both entrances to the development. Left turn lane would be needed for the proposed new drive on County Road 700, and on County Road 700 West and northbound right turn lane would also be needed. What standards we prepared a table comparing the B3 standards with what's proposed in the PUD, just so you can kind of see what's being proposed with what those minimums, and then anything that's left blank would fall to your underlying B3. We had no comments from Butler Fairman Streets, utility departments. The fire department did not have any comments. Yeah, planning this will end up having to go probably to drainage board. So we've identified that. So the planning commission is recommending the planning commission favorable recommendation of PUD 2026-01 to the town council with following conditions. The planning drainage board approval, be superior filing, contain INDOT permit for access and driveway, construction the recommended in traffic impact study, a statement that needs to be added under 3E on page 18 about B3 uses excluding those specifically prohibited in the text. And then also added that 2 primary structures are lot as long as each building is compliant with the zoning standards, trails for the 700 plus in compliance with the P, outdoor storage, not replaced spaces, for the 30% of the building, outdoor storage, not And that yard is fencing. There's a 4-foot wall with fencing, with the total height not to exceed. So that's stuff, that would be staff recommendation.
I have some questions later, but I think I'll just go ahead and open the, public hearing. So if there's anybody from the public who would like to make any comments, their time.
No, I was
Just come on up, if you would, I'm sorry, if you come up and just give us your name
Oh,
and your address, because we're going to be broadcast.
It's Scott at 161 Bacon Way.
Okay.
It's on Grants Corner, and I'm curious what I'm going to look at how I. So. From the notice we got, couldn't tell what we're doing, and so we've talked as neighbors, and I thought 2 of my neighbors were coming. So I'm just curious, what's gonna see a 2-story building, or hopefully not apartment buildings again, but, what's up?
Can I comment on that?
Well, let me, yes, yeah, but we'll do that in a minute. Okay, thank you, and if there's no other, public comments, then we'll close the hearing. And now 15 or 10 minutes to respond.
Yeah, that's a good question. So hopefully what you're looking at your back, there's some really great landscape. And that's the first thing you would hopefully see, because we have a landscape and follow that provides a good buffer between our buildings and your home. Second, we have designed these buildings in a way that they're not more than 2 stories, but they actually have pitched roofs like houses, roofs. And so they blend in with the community. And, from a potential use standpoint, you could have a restaurant, you could have a doctor's office, you'll have a hardware store, or insurance will actually be, you won't be looking at the back of the hardware store. It's further in the development, but there is a possibility you could use the front door, the beautiful landscape. But other than that, you're not gonna see, any tall skyscrapers or any. So we had done this, I think in the illustration, that provided, we did this, very similar at Southport Road and 5 Points Road. That was a 30,000 square foot, retail center. And that's close to rooftops that we have. And there's actually love it. It looks great. It's a great, efficient use. And that center has a nail salon, has a hardware store, has a flooring, design company, and has 2 restaurants. Thank you.
5 Points Plaza.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Brenda, do you guys have anything else in your rebuttal that you wanted to address?
Yeah, just a couple things. It was pointed out that in the staff's recommendation, was a right in, right out on 40. And what we propose is we're still in DOT and A&F engineering. And we would propose that if NDOT approves left in, then we're allowed left in. Now I gotta tell you, if NDOT approves the left in, the specs that they have are extremely high. If project with NDOT in a Costco in Avon, Indiana, and it was a 50-acre project, and this was on Rockville Road, which is basically a traffic nightmare. But with the help of Dylan and his team and NDOT, A&F, we were able to design a good left in, and it just helps with the flow. You're not worried about people making U-turns once they get past the median. It makes everything a lot easier. So that's one of the things I would propose. And then when you talk about for the first court, we've done this, we're willing to add a wall. And then on top of that, you have really nice, fencing, on top of that. And we'll go up to 8 feet, from the 6 feet.
What kind of fencing?
It's like a black, looks like wrought iron. But it's not wrought iron, it's aluminum, so that's rust.
I would come back at development, right, and do like this fencing. I think it's kind of a chain link up, you know. A little bit of time, you know, so we.
Yeah, yeah, you
Give
know,
me a heads
yeah,
up.
no.
And it's hard to see in the image, but the one on Southport, if you go to Google Maps, it has that black iron. Yeah, well, I think it's really hard.
No, it's a good question, good question. I don't know if this is the right time to talk about outdoor sport, we will not put anything in the park. But it's important to us, especially on the hardware side only, that we're allowed to, put product in front of the building. But we will agree to a standard that it's neat and orderly, but it's important because people, they pick up their bag of salt, or in the springtime, they pick up their mulch, you know, they want to be able to back their car up, or their truck, and not have to, you know, just load it up, as opposed to have all somewhere. And it's far more convenient. The neighbors like it. I don't think I have any other comments.
So the left end turn, something to 40,
Yeah,
create the left hand is.
We've already, basically a turn lane there in the center, which what they did a couple of years ago. So
Right, so as of there now, there's going to be. Always meeting, going up to the Senate dual, that. It has jurisdiction over US 40, so ultimately it's up to them. We will abide by whatever NDOT permits.
This affects something in the west.
No, we're recommending just the recommendations that came out of the tests, and then they may have some right of way on some. For us, it would just be this.
and it would be 700 as well, versus, the way it's worded now, so it would just be a right. The proposal, right? So there. That'd be kind of a cost, like we need to let out on 700, so, but we would work with NDOT, you know, a lot of times, or whomever has jurisdiction on 700, is that NDOT?
They go over there.
So whoever has jurisdiction, we work with, them on that, but we did something, and a lot of times what they require is they just require us adding an extra turn lane, widening the turn lanes at the signal. I think one of their, recommendations was we can move a pole, I think, at 740. And so it's all stuff we're used to, it's all stuff. We did something very similar at Grassy Branch Road and, or exact same thing. And, looked at the project, actually very similar to this.
For some reason you couldn't do it less than 700. Looks like you can get it. People, you listen there, but eventually get to know you and get it that way.
Yeah,
Well, or
and I think the big thing too is as people are leaving, be able to, as they're leaving the project, to get back to they go north or go south and east on 40. Because they won't be able to go east on 40, pulling out on the project, because that is right now, but it's hopefully a left end, and that's it. We don't see any scenario where someone can leave our project, turn left. And
they'll try.
you know, that's stupidity, that's the only thing, so, but, you know, we've all done great things. But, we'll do our best to keep that.
And you've agreed with the, putting the trail along 40
Yeah.
and 700.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Also around the drain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's, I mean, not only is that great for the community, but it actually, helps us from a development standpoint. People like it, you like it.
I have a question about lighting and parking. Concern. Just like, and passing, three sides around there. And we require like, when it doesn't go out from the property. That's later on.
National Road overlay, which is, and so there's no specific lighting standard in this, so this would refer back to your main and National Road. Requires the downlit lighting. And lighting.
Because I just don't want to be lighting up the whole east side on a glowing or something. So,
Yeah, we have our vendors and contractors, they do those studies and create, it's like submit it with our.
okay.
And so you'll see that in development.
Okay. And basically, it's saying that in the zoning, what's listed as B3. Would be the thing only permitted in B3, it's got a P or and an S as a special exception. It looks, but I looked at the chart and I showed this that to him. The
Those
chart,
last ones that are allowed in the B2 are also allowed. in the
I'm
B3.
sorry,
Allowed there that are allowed in the B2, but not showing in B3,
yeah,
they should be allowed.
oh, okay, because the fast food and taking
Yeah.
service, and there wasn't anything in B3 there.
Yeah, it's an error, there's the
Okay,
fix.
it kind of looked like got it screwed up.
Yeah, yeah, no, your intent was allowed in the B2 when you did this, that it would be allowed in the B3 plus the word.
There's some other things other than what's in your report, or your tech report, that I think we might want to consider not allowing. Exactly, some of the wording is different here than what's in the chart. But, all the filling stations. Service repair, auto parts sales. Bed and breakfast establishment. In other words, that's the special exception, but I think we should eliminate that as part of the public agreement. Establishments, again, I'm not sure exactly what that is.
So, the places that indoor pickleball or axe throwing and.
There's out, this is out in commercial.
Oh, outdoor. So there's some places where like, there's outdoor there's some pickleball restaurants and, up at Hamilton Town Center, little recreation, and they have bocce ball,
Okay.
bowling.
Commercial parking lot, I don't think you want. I'm not sure that there'd be a rooftop center, but unless that would be a small mountain center, as part of your medical or something.
Yeah, that is a primary use. It was, like a banquet type, where, people hosted weddings and that kind of stuff.
I'm not part of. Convenience market and, on that.
You said you didn't have that,
Correct.
yeah. So
Farm implement sales and services.
that's what I've been agreed on.
Right. And I'm not sure how this would, fit. That greenhouses and nurseries, I don't think the hardware store would be considered a house for the nursery.
Not as a.
That's not the primary thing that he's selling us, I don't know how that falls, under these kind of things.
But I mean, it's you, they're all.
They, well,
Interfere with like the.
it's garden center, it's part of something else.
Yeah.
Hotels and motels are permitted. I don't think you plan on putting a hotel or motel in there. And leasing and rental agent, yes, so that'd be like a Hertz or something like that. I don't think you'd want that. Lead rental agents for equipment, thinking they're. It's on the second page.
Those are already excluded.
So the only reason why this is B3 is because of the Dino hardware store.
These,
Because I know the US 40 really is designed for intensity commercial uses. And so that's.
Yeah, it's just that we approved, of not the intention. The really approved, if you read, the intentions of land use, it wasn't, filling station or auto care or auto sales, or car wash or a bunch of stuff that had, like, that's a real stickler for me, like, you can't eliminate these things,
I think that's a good point. I think, I don't live in Cumberland, you guys live in Cumberland, but we need to, develop something that is great for the Cumberland community. And, the original PUD that was planned was a lot more. So when someone like this is looking out her window, it's gonna be a much more pleasant sight than what was already proposed. And is, a little bit of push and pull because we need to be able to make our numbers work, to match. And a lot of that stuff that you mentioned, we can agree to that, we don't, have those uses, but, when you're doing neighborhood retail, you gotta have drive-throughs, but the drive-throughs look good, but you gotta have them.
this was fun.
Yeah.
It's an Latin. That was the thing.
You gotta have, I'll give you an example at, 146 and, 146 in Promise Road, in Noblesville. There is a fuel facility, but it is a gorgeous fueling facility. It's Leo's. And, fueling facilities are, our grandparents' fueling facilities. These are beautiful. And you put standards in there for them and if they don't abide by it, well, then there's repercussions. Same thing at 161st and Spring Mill in Westfield, in the heart of this. And it's and and drivers. Yeah, right. And it kind of blends in well. The neighbors let it pull out and, but you gotta have it and make sure that it's kept up. So, but I do be with, we don't need a, out or, or car dealership or those types of things. So, even though it's zoned for, your highest retail use, this is not gonna be like, the Castleton area, so to speak.
Are we not trying to be with what we're doing and all the planning and everything, to put a different stamp on our area, so. Something we want for builders, developers to come in and show it differently, and people would say, wow, that's really nice, and we got something. Little more stuff, and didn't throw out a gas station that, don't need anyway, but. But it's like, isn't kind of the goal that we're trying to make Cumberland. Upgrade it, bring it along. I mean, the comprehensive plan has been worked on forever and moving it forward with what we think is workable here, so. I would think that would be, our goal is. Put it in, we want it to look nice for neighbors. But right, you see what they did.
Yeah.
that's for need for restaurant, especially with the trail, people can walk, and that's just,
And
Yeah. They just don't show up, right? The restaurants, the end users. You need more critical mass of both.
Yeah.
Of honestly, those, it just doesn't happen. And so what I, you know, we go, we go through this process, I'm kind of taking the pioneer step on the east end of Cumberland. And what happens is, I say that, you can successfully develop Cumberland that look good, right? And then other developers come along and other users, because they're watching the sales. They pay attention to, this is all in some way or another, they see who's doing well with it. And then the other restaurants will come, the Paneras of the world, or, some of these others. And, where I go, everyone says, I want to trade, and yeah, it doesn't matter. Everyone wants to Trader Joe's, chicken Costco, everyone. And, yeah, but they don't, they just don't pop up these things, like you got this stuff, because this also brings getting quality rooftops if you do a quality job. And we're not looking, I try to build retail centers that I can take my family to, right? So we're not gonna, we don't need to have lunch breaks at work. We don't need to have those types of things that tend to, not be the best for neighborhoods. But, probably the one thing that I think we do need, now we're gonna do it, but it just gives us options, is a fueling. So that's huge, because in this day and age, and what that does is that allows a lot of other cross traffic that creates a lot of other demand generators. You can get a Starbucks, you could get, up in there, you can get some of those things between traffic that you may not have ordinarily, captured. But a lot of the other stuff, I think we can live without. I just need to go through that list.
Fueling station, I'm actually,
I just have to
there were
go.
a couple others I had, it just kind of didn't make sense. Motor vehicle sales, new and used, I don't think you want to have a car lot there.
Yeah.
Auto repair, maybe.
All repair, yeah.
No, I mean, there are some, like, what is Bell Tire, they Christian Brotherhood, if
The Valvoline, the all that kind of.
I don't think we do, yeah, go on. But, yeah, it takes, then that's push pull, right? So we say no.
One of the other was kennels associated animal process, I don't think it was dog barking around the neighborhoods,
I had 4 dogs at one time, but yeah, it's
I
not,
was trying to watch out, they trying to watch out for the neighbors, and that's
Yeah,
that lighting thing,
yeah, that would.
that was my thing there.
just something to think about too. US 40s are pretty much the only commercial corridor in. So when you're looking at some of these uses, think through where would these uses be appropriate? So if we think about a drive-through station, if not on 40, where? So just something to think through, as you're deliberating and consulting. I mean, a lot of the fast casuals anymore have drive-throughs at Panera and things like that. Maybe Panera left one over, things here because they've been on. So just not telling you one way or another, but just things to consider. Since COVID, there's on a lot of businesses and buildings has really.
That's why I asked about
popped.
because the chart didn't show that, and the drawing got. Preventing.
No, it's not prevented there.
One thing that I would consider, for the commission is when we go to page 17. That's where the amendments uses should be. So currently, you have permitted uses that are listed down there. And you have certain ones that are struck out, that is the amendment to this ordinance. So they're asking to be allowed to do certain things. So when you see the ones that are change from the original community that you had. Among them is the auto filling station. That means an auto filling station will be allowed under this. But then you also have auto service or body repair, building materials, service and supply, car wash, commercial greenhouses and nurseries, convenience mart, fueling station, a hospital, wholesale. And so so that if you're wanting to keep a restriction, it would be that strikeout on page 17.
That's the same, we're talking.
Abby's for you.
Yep.
I feel like the whole plan's kind of centered around the hardware store. But we had Ace Hardware 5 minutes west down the road and it didn't last.
So this,
Why?
yeah, no, yeah, it's a great point. One of the reasons why it didn't last, you know, I'm the largest Indiana-based, Ace of retail. We've got 10 locations open right now. They said the same at 2 of our locations. 32 in Cary Road, there was years ago, there was a Ace Hardware store there. You know, 6 years after it closed, we put one in, and it's one of our stores in our portfolio. And a lot of it comes down to how you run it. It comes down to ownership's expectations, where they are. Like, it could have been an owner that just retired, and you know, the way it was situation. I don't know that situation, but it just, we don't think about our reasons that it closed. Same thing in the Meridian Kessler area. We opened up a store right there in the pocket of all those rooftops, and the neighbors love it. We did, if you ever get a chance to check it out, it's actually 2 stories. It's the main level and a lower level. It's like 15,000 square feet. They had a curly slide that goes down the main level for the kids when they come in. And in all of our stores, we have free popcorn, we have free coffee. But we think our data tells us this would be a good location for us.
I was just curious. I
Yeah.
think this just closed last year.
Oh, no.
Crazy.
I think you're talking about
Yeah,
the true value.
yeah.
It was a true value.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that. So, and he's got one other location, downtown, it's great. And, yeah, I can't speak on those circumstances, but I know our location
Okay.
is a far better.
Anything I wanted and this price was expensive.
Yeah. Sheldon, they went out of business for free, but.
Yeah.
The second question I have is, it looks like you have entrances from every side except for from East Wakeport. Is that intentional? Did they not want them? Or?
Well, it's hard for us to show it because it's private property. And a lot of times, the neighbors that have access to it, because they don't want that traffic through, try to find a way out to 40. So that was,
Building.
yeah.
Where it's.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah,
This strip now that is coming in, unless I missed this, because obviously I've had some computer glitches or don't have everything. But is there, this like property management, is this gonna be under the company, the developer, you yourself? Be the manager,
yeah.
so you'll have the comings and goings of,
Yeah, so our asset management,
tattoo parlor.
Yeah.
Like that. So
yeah.
the restrictions that we've crossed adding back. What your guidelines.
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
so, I mean, I think we still have to agree to like a. You know, a few things, but yes, we're in downtown Indianapolis, and our asset management team and our people, they'll visit the property, if not once a week, once every other week, to inspect it. Yeah, we're not a, you know, not a owner developer.
A question for you. Some of the guiding principles, the original PUD that will it was originally, and I know it was mixed use, so things have changed, obviously, a two-story. That's a one-story, single story, strip center type building. But, the original PUD is that all building materials will be body such as masonry, stone, with lighter accents of materials such as wood or high quality stucco. I think one of the concerns there is, yeah, it should fit in with the surrounding neighbors. Mixed use could have done that as well, but this being one story, gable roofs work perfect, you know. Fit in perfect in that, but the facade improvements, it'd be nice if we adhere to those original guiding principles, just from a quality standpoint. I mean, right. The nicest building, not the clubhouse, right?
Right.
It's not built to the same standards as the housing around. I would think want likely nice.
Yeah, I think it'll look nice. I mean, so usually we do a nice party. Above the stone, the base. And then we usually have like stone columns. So, but there are, like, even in the, Village of West Clay, it looks really good, but there's barely any, there's probably stone that's up maybe,
Wainscot height.
what's that?
Right.
Yeah, it's not very tall, and then it's actually stucco. And that's actually cheaper than the hardy that but it looks good. And the buildings out front, unless there are only a few areas where if you're marketing to animal users, where you can get them to abide by like old brick, things like that. They have their design, they budget, and you know, a lot of times they'll just go somewhere else, and they'll just say, okay, we'll just wait until, you know, things change, and then we come back. Well, that's the thing, yeah, right, and I hate to say that, right, I mean, everywhere, like for the past 25 years I've been doing this. That's been what, you know, and Carmel's just an anomaly, it's not, you know, even we've done stuff. I'm doing this exact same thing in Noblesville, actually. And at 100 horsepower. And it looks good. It looks really good. And so I hear what you're saying, but I think when this group proposed that, I think the group that we bought it from, because we already own the site, I think they realized that from a feasibility standpoint, it just wasn't. That's why they sold us the site. Otherwise, you know, they would have.
What proportion of hard materials such as masonry and brick versus hardy siding?
Really, I don't have it in front of me, whatever's on our,
It's like about a week fall, what it looked like.
so, the current
National Road.
Yeah, it looks like the 5 points, but the text and the ordinance reverse that.
So whatever the overlay, so our architects, you know, follow the overlay standards. But I saw some initial designs and I thought it looked sharp. It was honestly better than this picture that you guys had. But we didn't, you know, that was by an example, but the elevations that Kurt provided to us, I think we just got, I think it was early this week, last week.
I think we said something.
But I didn't see any proportion of materials on. That's why I'm just curious, which is the fun thing.
What are, I don't know what the overlay standards are.
I'll put that right.
Okay.
I haven't
No.
been-
Comment I had on, getting for your outdoor storage, a little difficult for me to tell on that proposed building location to runs north south,
Yep,
furthest from Grant's Corner.
yeah,
Are you think your outdoor should be at the north end or south end or rear of the building or?
yeah, it's nothing. So, yeah, so it's not on the north
It
end,
was spring time,
yeah. That way it's not like facing the neighborhood.
yeah,
But, you know, and again, it looks good. It's, the wall's about this tall, and then you have fencing, you know, nice fencing up there. So,
how, what is your height limit for outdoor in that area?
oh goodness, we really don't go taller than that. I mean, unless it's spring season and you have a bunch of flowers. But other than that, I'd say go that tall. We can limit it to, well, spring season, it could go taller, you know, when you have nice trees, that kind of stuff, but
Like, I don't really see a problem with outdoor storage going to the height of the fence itself, you know, just because of screening.
yeah.
What I struggle with a little bit is any see through, even though it's a nice quality. We see it all the time. Stores, it has an industrial look, it's not attractive.
Yeah,
I mean, if you were to put up a 8-foot masonry and stuff, you can fence, you know, back it all up to 8 feet. But
Yeah.
neighbors in US 40 aren't gonna see it either.
the is, as people pull in, you want their eyes to get focused on that outdoor product, the plants, those types of things, because you just tend to sell more when they do see it. Or they tell their friend, oh, hey, did you see they have this or that? You know, it's out of sight, it's out of mind, and that's why, you know, 99% of the time, you gotta be able to have outdoor storage that in some form people can see, or outdoor display, and
And I think that with those outdoor displays like you're talking about, we see it at grocery stores. You know, bring the plants out right at the front end, and we enter to remind it, oh, I better have a plan. Time to look at pallets, the mulch behind that open fencing.
yeah,
I want them all to finish the work.
yeah, you'll have mulch in front, yeah,
Whatever. Yeah. Down there,
yeah,
your store.
Well, that's seasonal.
yeah,
So
it
it's like
is.
you have your, come get it now before it's gone, and then next season you'll have another look out.
Yes, yeah, it's not, because you gotta remember, it's not like a warehouse area, right? It is organized because people are walking through and shopping. So it's an extension from the store. So it's laid out, you know, but. And, I mean, I understand what you're saying. Really, and, you know, there's a couple things that were, one, you know, the cost to build a 8-foot wall is extremely expensive all the way around. But two, outside of that, it's able to,
It's cheaper than covered storage.
what's that?
It's cheaper than covered storage, put the roof.
Well, yeah, it's, but yeah. And then, but, you know, being able to, for the customers to see it, that's really important. I mean, it's do it in a good classy way, and you guys, gee, this is the exact thing at 160, we have a store there. It's the exact same thing. And you talk about having rooftops, it's all right there. And, same, really, I mean, everything, that we've done, except in one location. And, it was a little thing.
just to answer your question regarding the percentages, 80% is gonna be the primary material, 20% will be the exit material. So the flat board mat siding, it's either wood or cement, brick, natural red stone. Then the accent, the architectural mat siding, the trim, the fasteners, precast concrete, the building is under 10,000 square feet, exterior insulation, finishing systems, and ultra synthetic stuff. It's 80-20%. That's in the national road district.
Is looking at percent cement board siding and minimum 20% thin brick on the insco.
Yeah, I mean, it may be, I don't know, if it's regular brick, but yeah.
It's saying the minimum.
Yeah.
according to the standard.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have any other, like, setups, kind of like your outdoor storage plan that attached to these other buildings, but for like outdoor seating for restaurants or anything like that in the plans or not?
So actually 5 points, we usually. Like, we added that outdoor seating after the fact, we had, knew what restaurant was going in there. And, so sometimes we add in, some, we don't, in this situation, we're gonna wait to. User comes in, because a lot of times, different outdoor seat requirements and size. You know, and they may say, oh, we don't want to be on the 700 side, we want to be on the interior. And, yeah, so.
We've had a lot of like meetings with people from the town, et cetera, like residents, and that's just a big one is ground with outdoor seating.
Yeah, I love restaurants, I mean, they drive a lot of traffic. And hardware stores are really great because they're not parking halls. So it really allows you to, because, you know, they're out of store in less than 20 minutes. And, you know, they're typically not video on Friday night at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. So your restaurants, they leave a lot of that parking open for the restaurant users. So it lends itself well for that. But again, we wait for the dining area until we have a user. It's not all the time. Because some may say, oh, we need, you know, 700 square feet, and others may say, we need 200 square feet.
And we're having a hard time, it's just like an adjustment from what we approved.
Yeah.
A town plaza,
Yeah,
so it's like, okay, we got.
yeah, no, you guys are asking great questions, and I appreciate it.
If everything looks as soft as.
Mhm.
I would appreciate the 30-footer, you know, and then the trees and on. To me, I found something a little better than what we originally looked at. There. It was kind of there, but I have one question and everybody knows what I'll ask, and that is around that pond, are there gonna, no trees? I'm a tree person now.
Oh.
Trees. I know. But I didn't know if there's gonna be trunks that like,
Mhm.
hey, tree, and more trees.
Yeah, I mean, I like trees.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean,
I think this is.
Yeah, that's
Well, and that it is drainage easement there, so when we get to development, we, the whole landscape. We'll make sure.
make sure for trees.
Well,
No,
the
the
more,
most conflict.
yeah, because. Yeah, it's utilities, that's my own.
Put it out there.
beautiful, and I'm sure, you know, it's great.
Lots trees.
The idea would be you start with lot 1, which is the 2 buildings, and then you would proceed and get other people who were interested, then you go into the block A and B and C.
Yep.
as it progressed.
Yeah, because basically what I'm saying is, listen, I believe in Cumberland, I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm investing in it, bringing in our hardware store, it's Benja's Hardware, under the Ace flag. And, you know, we're gonna show you, like, it can do well here. And then, you know, usually, okay, you start breaking ground, activity breeds activity, and then other users, they start not. You know, they just want us to kind of, you know, get through some of these processes.
A lot of rooftops going in the next 2 years up here too. So,
Yeah,
okay, there's no other questions. I will entertain a motion, but I'm not quite sure how to do all this extra stuff.
but did we wanna agree on, again, the prohibited uses?
Actually, when going through the page 17, the only thing I was like concerned about was that.
Yeah, I feel like we'll revisit, outdoor screening before we conclude.
Okay. So if it's crossed, that means it's allowed. Okay. I'd like to. What's the body repair? Service is okay with, I mean, body shop. Because that requires a lot of environmental stuff when you're doing all that kind of thing.
Okay,
So we're gonna.
Well, I was gonna say, which one?
Oh. Well, listed is on the service or body.
Right.
Yeah, what's the? Yeah, the definitions, you know, tire store would be different than, you know, that's repair, or oil change would be repair. But to me, body shop is more environmentally heavy with painting and that kind of stuff.
Actually, that's more environmentally friendly now.
It's all, yeah, latex,
It's all wonderful.
yeah.
Thanks.
You know,
we can,
I'm okay with it, I guess.
Yeah.
And think about, I forgot changing over. But still late. Okay, yes, Bob had something else.
I think easy.
Okay, so it's okay.
I don't know if Ann did.
Okay.
Just throw it out there, I don't know if anybody else has a similar concern with the outdoor screening, you know. With the 4-foot solid fencing and see-through fencing. I would.
It's really, it's. For sale, like he said, and as long as it's got the heat behind there. Yeah, I would think of, you know, like that, that's similar kind of thing, it doesn't bother me.
and remember, it's not a huge area. Right? So it is not like a massive like lumberyard, it is a nice plain. Garden center area for flowers, get a little more further out of our garden. For what it's worth.
I feel like even on the previous model, if you look at it, they didn't have the on the fence, it's all see-through, it's like pillars. Did you look at that as
Yeah.
so?
That's very industrial.
I'm actually okay with it.
I'm not okay with that, yeah.
And I used to look like. They have
We do have, actually, it's some of ours.
Thanks for.
this maybe, to me, that's her.
No, I've seen this, that, on here, the whole vision of, I don't know, we heard that wall. It's very an old, chain link.
Yeah, really.
I'm okay. Are we okay
So as,
Yeah, with what I saw on page 17,
okay,
I'll make a recommendation then. I like to recommend that the commission. Thank you.
Yeah.
Case for PDA 26. 0-1 main heights commercial. Number one, the plan unit development amendment. Is with the original intent of the PUD and the requirement of this zone ordinance. Because it will still meet the intents of the national. Overlay. Thank you. Number two, this plan. Will not violate the general purpose goal and objectives of zoning ordinance and the town's comprehensive plan because of the recommendations and the conditions that are waiting on it and the fact that this will be under the national road overlay. So I move that CDA 2026-01 to town council with a favorable recommendation. And I move that this will be with the following conditions. Hancock County Drainage Board approval at planning. Obtain NDOT permit for access to the right of way, possible left in whatever they will agree to. Construct improvements recommended traffic impact study. And add under 3E on page 18 that states all major uses, excluding those specifically prohibited. A statement also be added to be stating, quote, 2 primary structures are permitted on the same building complies with all applicable zoning standards, unquote. Next, trails to be constructed along US 40, County Road 700 West, and compliance with PUD. Next, outdoor storage not to be placed in parking spaces and along no more than 30% of the front wall of the building. Outdoor storage not to be visible from US 40 or County Road 700 West. Lastly, the garden standard fencing will include a 4-foot wall and fencing above for 8 feet in height. And that's it.
The,
30%.
yeah, just on the ACE, on the hardware portion on the front.
So, one of the concerns is with outdoor storage, we have the 30% of the front wall kind of recommendation. And so for the ACE hardware portion, they like to not have that 30%. But are you gonna have other tenants in that building?
Not in the hardware building,
Okay,
but we
yeah,
will,
straight,
we will in the other building. But usually, we, along the front, we will have as much as we can, flowers and bulbs and spring and
That's
summer.
not considered storage, more like displays, right?
but because it does fall.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, so you could either take that 30% out or exclude
excluding the
the
hardware.
hardware building.
Yeah. we just add
If you want,
excluding the hardware building.
we need.
You don't want storage.
So. Crosswalk process.
See it on the drawing. Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't, a change, was it?
Recommended.
Yeah, we took, sent to the staff report, I don't really remember each.
Would that be included under the traffic?
Yeah, sure, when.
We're showing on our, like,
Is building one hardware store or building 2?
Yeah.
2, it's on the longest.
yeah,
Yeah, it goes in with itself. Yeah, that's what I thought. So I think that's all I needed to say, right?
what, help me out, so outdoor where storage is not visible from US 40, 700. If,
I think if you have the berm along there, it's gonna screen it. So-
Okay.
Build up over, I think it's kind of high.
okay, yeah. So we can put it in front of the building, but if someone says, hey, I can see,
Right, no.
if we're okay.
That's not, that's what 700. Building up here. Right by me.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah, it's more, especially from,
okay.
Yeah, we're gonna pick two. Okay, with all that, we have a second.
All second.
Okay, any further discussion? Good.
Just want to say thanks, guys. I thought this was great. And we look forward to, you know, the asset that's good for the city. Still a ways to go. Still figuring out our uses, but they're doing a good job. I think Christine and her team are doing a good job. Been really pleasant to work with, and she learned a lot of things. Like, she's helped her and you know, she's helped guide as well, and so we thank you.
Thank you. Looking forward to, getting some retail up. So.
Yeah. We love restaurants. Yes, yes. More of them. Thank you. Thanks for.
Okay, do we have any others, which I don't think we do, we talk about next month?
yeah, so there's no meeting next month, but if you want to still meet, I'd like to have a session. Things from the, of that. So if you're open to a work session, we'd like, we can just walk out and talk through that and things. And then you get an email next week on Saturday, April 18th. There's gonna be countywide planning commission and BCA. It'll be from 9 to noon, so if you're able, we would encourage attendance in that, so.
April the 18th.
April 18th, it's a Saturday morning, it'll be free to go. We'll have more detail. You can come into Jewel.
We can show off Jewel.
That's pretty much. I may or may not have been certification.
Where's it gonna be?
It's gonna be in Greenfield at the old theater. Forget what its name is now. Over at the paint house. I don't.
Give it all.
You'll get it, yes, get it all in email. It's 8:21.
At 9.
3 hours. I wouldn't dare ask for more.
That's a lot. Sponsoring that, who's sponsoring that?
It's the community doing it. We're doing it. We did this a few years ago. If you'll remember, we kind of all got together and had, just general training for the boards and that, and so the communities all kind of chipped in. And that, so the city we're gonna use, there's not gonna be there, so, speakers, we'll have some light requests. Yeah. That was a good clean.
That's the practice of the lightning.
Yeah. For the little, first little, and. Greenfield, yes. Greenfield. So, but yeah, everybody's planning to be there, but they're not. Words. We'll notice it, joint meetings. Citizens will all have one. But that, you'll get more info in that. I mean, your May agenda is shaping up quite beefy. I'm expecting a minimum of 3 to be filed, so. Sleepy.
That's for some of those developments to be approved. But
Yep, so minimum of 3 time. And so we'll see what actually files. If we have an agenda with 3+ items, I would suggest, maybe we meet at 6. Start here, but our hearings also probably, we don't wanna be. And, 2 hours for each hearing, so.
That's,
We'll be
you said
here.
that, and we can have that today.
Okay, so go to. No.
No. So that would be, the fourth one, the 27th. Yeah.
So, once we know for sure, we'll use. We'll come everything for it, but.
We have that many. On the meeting.
For that, it will be your last meeting where you can request a tournament. Starting in June, we're going completely vacancy.
You know that. That's what's gonna happen.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
We are still recording, air mic too.
Okay. End this meeting. All in favor? Turn us off.
Yeah. You want some.
So.
Yeah.
So.
Easy. I was really happy with this.